roundtables, because you are really the bridge to our immigrant communities. And we often know that in what could be a really hectic media schedule, right? Sometimes we're not connecting enough with ethnic and community media and immigrant-led media. And so, as you know, I've been working really hard on the asylum seeker situation, and I've been a lot of press, with press, and I've been looking out for you. Where's our crew who we've been working very closely, because I know how important it is are included in these events and conversations. So we'd like to continue these conversations, these roundtables. We took a little bit of a break because, as you know, with any crisis, we had to fix that. This is a continuation of our efforts from earlier in the year. Today, we're going to be discussing and launching the People's Money. This is an effort by the Civic Engagement Commission and the Mayor's Office to do something very historic, which is to bring in the voices and the voice to our city's budget. And so we will provide more details around this and the New York Immigration Coalition. But I'd like to emphasize how historic this is. Any New Yorker, regardless of their immigration status, as early as 11 years old, will be able to weigh in on how we spend $5 million of the City Hall's budget. And that is significant because, again, regardless of immigration status, right? And as young as 11 years old. Prior to my appointment, I used to be the executive director of a community organization where we participated in the participatory budgeting process. So I have quite a lot of experience in this field, and this was always something that I was very proud of, that my city would include anyone regardless of their immigration status in such an important decision-making process. So I'd like to say this in Spanish. I wish I could say more languages, but hoy estamos aquí en el City Hall para anunciar un proyecto muy histórico, muy importante para nuestras comunidades migrantes, el lanzamiento de un proyecto que permitirá a cualquier neoyorquino, a pesar de su estatus migratorio, hasta jóvenes de no menos de 11 años, poder votar para decidir cómo se van a invertir 5 millones del presupuesto de la alcaldía en la ciudad de Nueva York. Este es un momento muy importante, y en estas ruedas de prensa donde le damos la oportunidad a los medios étnicos inmigrantes de conversar con el City Hall, acercarse al City Hall, vamos a poder dejarles saber a nuestra comunidad que este proyecto existe. Así que me da mucho orgullo poder estar aquí con nuestra comunidad y poder compartir esta información. Muchísimas gracias. So now I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Sarah Saini, Chair of the Civic Engagement Commission, who will speak and answer more questions about this problem.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure and an honor to speak with all of you at the Civic Engagement Commission. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. We have a deck to share with you. I guess I wanted to just begin how posture, Immigration Coalition, and so many others across the city. We're really trying to create more stronger democracy in our city, right? Democratizing participation, and I think that your role is really important to that, because we're trying to also create more democracy and voice in media, right? And you're all such important partners, so I'm incredibly grateful to you all for joining us this morning. As far as the Civic Engagement Commission, I'm just curious. Well, I won't ask you. I won't do a poll or anything about how many people commission, but the commission was actually created by voters in 2018 as part of the first charter revision commission under Mayor Bill de Blasio. And there were 3 ballot measures that were put on the ballot in 2018, and the commission was one of them. And it is essentially the first democratically elected commission that is charged with greater participation in order to promote civic trust and strengthen democracy. Also, there's a variety of ways, right? Like you can have offices, council establishment office. I think this is unique is that we're actually on the ballot, and therefore we are part of the permanent structure of city government. The commission is charged with running citywide participatory budgeting, which we'll talk about in depth today. We also run full-site language services in 11 languages, and we actually we serve 11 languages that select sites will be able to go on our site, participate.nyc.gov, and one on the list of sites will be providing interpretation of the selection in November. We work with community boards to provide member training. Democracy NYC is also part of the commission by executive order in December, and that Democracy NYC does voter outreach education. And we're charged broadly with working with agency partners and community organizations and partners to strengthen civic engagement in New York City. So citywide participatory budgeting, this is a process called the People's Money. And this program was launched in September on the 14th. And as Mr. Castro said, this is the first time that New York City has citywide participatory budgeting. You may have heard of PB before because it was run by council members. There are about 33 council members who've been in PB in the past. What makes us different is that we are citywide. So this has the opportunity for New Yorkers to participate. All New Yorkers ages 11 and up are going to be able to give ideas and vote on how to spend $5 million of expense funding, mayoral expense funding, and they will be putting forward ideas that address their local community needs. So we had a process where we created an RFI to partner with organizations. 220 organizations submitted proposals to host idea generation sessions, and we carefully chose 82 partners. We're now, as we speak, holding idea generation sessions across the city. What we will do with these ideas is then turn them into ballot proposals, and that process also will involve people, members of the public, to select which proposals are going on the ballot, and residents will be able to vote on these projects across each borough. And starting in 2023, we will be implementing winning projects. This process, citywide PD, is building on a process we ran last year and the year before. There were smaller processes. The one focused on the neighborhoods that were hard hit by COVID, and $3 million. We ran a much shorter process that involved $100,000 and funded 5 projects, but had 2,000 youth participating in that. So we're really, really excited to be building on all of the work we've been doing and learning from. So a full list of our partners can be found again on our platform, participating.nyc.gov. We essentially have 4 tiers of partners. Tier 1 is the 33 neighborhoods who participated. These neighborhoods were involved in last year's process. And then the charter asked us to focus demographic groups to make sure that we are including people who are traditionally out of government and underserved by government. And this includes, as noted on the slide, youth and students, veterans, people with disabilities, seniors, limited English individuals, immigrants, individuals, LGBTQIA That is tier 2. These organizations are focusing on specific demographic groups. And then tier 3 is borough-wide. CEOs who can help us reach across the borough. And then tier 4 is smaller community-based organizations, civic groups. Each tier has different verticals. We're asking partners to residents and hold these sessions. People's money goals. We definitely are working and it's built into funding is allocated more about that. We're promoting respect for the experiences of residents. And this is important because government, I think we need to do better in terms of creating policies and practices that reflect the way residents, right, and have them at the table, shaping policies and programs. So that is what this initiative does. Building civic and grassroots leadership, bridging knowledge gaps about the city in idea generation sessions. People actually learn about the city budget and how it works and how decisions are made about the budget, increasing civic engagement, strengthening trust in government. Just to think about equity, that's one of the things that we're doing is that in making a decision about how we're allocating funding, we are dedicating a certain amount of money to the 33 neighborhoods, and then boroughs are also getting funding, but the formula for allocating funding takes into account number of residents living in each borough plus poverty level in each borough. The way this process works right now, we're doing idea collection sessions across the city. We will have some that are also borough focused, and we'll share more about that. Projects, as I said, are vetted and developed, and we are going to be then taking the projects that are voted on, and there will be an open call and organizations to apply to implement these projects. And ballots will also be in multiple languages. And then once completed, around April, we'll be voting. Residents will be voting on which proposals they'd like to see funded. Voting will happen online. It will happen by paper ballot, by phone. And again, anyone 11 years or older, regardless of immigration or incarceration status, is eligible to vote. And we have a couple of places you can connect with us. The first, attending IDEA boroughwide generation sessions. There are 5 coming up. And you can also find, as I mentioned, the partners on our site, and then also on social media at NYC. And we welcome you to join us at the IDEA generation session. Invite you to learn more about this process. And we're excited again to be able to share today. Thank you so much.
When you change me of the immigration code,
Thank you, Jackie, for that wonderful walkthrough of the people's money. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wani Chim. I am the Director of Civic Engagement at the New York Immigration Coalition. My pronouns are she and her. And for folks who are not familiar with the New York Immigration Coalition, we are a statewide organization comprised of immigrant-serving organizations across the state. We have around 200 members. And we focus on initiatives like this. I really emphasize democracy and emphasize building civic trust and civic engagement in immigrant communities. And I am personally really enthralled to be part of the People's Money. We were supportive of it when it was a ballot proposal back in 2018, and now we've come full circle being able to actually implement the first phase of the People's Money and really getting ideas from our communities. So we are selected as two organizations to support the idea generation phase of the People's Money. I really want to emphasize something Catherine mentioned, that this process is a prime example of inclusive democracy. It extends beyond the age plan and more go to where your opinions are mattering to us. This extended to folks democracy in New York City to further allow them to have access to municipal elections. I think that people is a really good example or step in how we can incorporate our communities in some of these smaller New York City local decision making. I also want to emphasize that this project is not just about engaging our community, asking them about what they think of how money should be spent, but it's also an investment in New York City's overall civic infrastructure. I think as folks recall back in 2020, we were doing census outreach. Organizations were trying to engage the community to take the census. And then after the census ended, we were like, okay, now we're going to put civic engagement on hold until the next opportunity. But I think the people's money is a continuation of that effort. For organizations to continue having conversations in their community about what means most to you, and this is how the government is going to respond to what you think. So I really think the types of partnerships that has been created out of this and the investment in the relationships that community-based organizations continue to hold and continue to want to develop with immigrant communities across New York City. I also want to highlight the Civic Engagement Commission has also engaged many of our member organizations. So aside from the NYC being one of the 82 recipients of this funding, many of our member organizations have also been able to receive funding, and these are organizations that are varying sizes. They serve various communities across New York City. They serve different languages, and I just really want to emphasize how inclusive that has been to allow our members to have funding to hold these idea generation sessions, but also using this funding to support things like food, travel reimbursements, child care, and also interpretation. And I really think these moments matter because they are spaces that we're creating for our community to come and have fun and be engaged and be like, let's take the burden of child care off you. I know you had to commute here. Let's give you a travel reimbursement so that you're not, participating in democracy doesn't come at expense of you as an individual, because we as a city and we as an organization care about what you have to say. So I just want to thank that type of investment and really encourage that we as a city continue to build these processes that really fold in the needs of our community. When we say we want to hear from you, we also mean that we will provide whatever we need to ensure that we can hear from you. And I just want to elevate, throughout this process, I've been hosting ideas generation sessions, and it's been incredibly rewarding to hear from community members about their ideas, to really learn from their collective wisdom, their creativity, and at the same time, being able to share a little bit about the New York City's budget has been tremendous. A lot of the individuals that come to our sessions come back and say, this has been the most I've learned about New York City government. Because these are really being engaged on folks who get this civics class. So they're like, we really felt we got to know how New York City works, how New York City's money is being spent. And we really hope that we can continue the conversation with them after we solicit their ideas and getting them to vote on their eventual ideas and keep the conversation going, using this as a first step and not the last step of civic conversation.
Thank you.
So with that, we're going to start a Q&A portion. Open the floor. Greg?
Hi, good morning. I'm Greg from the Manhattan Times and Broad Street Press. So just to confirm, Dr. Say, the 82 partners, these sessions will be going on only until November 9th. And then the community-based organizations there won't be sessions after that.
Yeah, we'll move into another phase of the process. That's correct. So mid-November, and then what we will do is start looking through all the ideas and figuring out, in consultation with committees in each borough, what will go on the ballot. So that's correct.
And then in terms of how the money's allocated, you said it'll be based mostly on population. It's not, there's $5 million altogether, but in terms of the number of projects that gets approved, it'll be based on the number of residents in each borough. It's not, say, 1 million per borough.
No, it's not. It's certainly not equally divided across the boroughs. The application takes into account, as I mentioned, there's equity focus, right? So each of the 33 neighborhoods that are hardest hit by COVID will have $50,000 per neighborhood, and then in projects that people propose can be for varying amounts, like it's not for the full amount.
Great, yeah.
Isu?
Good morning, Isujuf Campbell, African. So how was the amount decided, the 5 million? And we know that's a city of 8 million plus. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. So can you talk to us about how this amount was decided?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, from the beginning, when the commission was created, and, right after it's like taking baby steps, and we see that this is just the beginning, and part of what's happening here also is that we're experimenting with a new way of doing things. I mean, the council members that have been running processes have been running generally $1 million in each council district. That is most of it is going to capital funding. So what this is doing is actually branching PEAS out in a completely new direction, in that it is expense funding that will be spent within a year. So people will get to see like the results of their participation much more quickly, whereas in the capital process, like projects take a long time to finish. So for us, I mean, I think it's the beginning, and wise, we hope that as it shows success and greater participation across the city, people taking interest, excitement building around this, that the dollar amounts invested will grow over time. And I think we're doing pretty well, seeing as we went from 100K to 1.3 million, now it's 5 million. So we're feeling good about like the way we've grown and the opportunity we have before us to really like demonstrate that this matters to people, right? It's not just enough that people voted for this program to be created. Like we need to show that people care and are participating in it, right? And we're hoping that will really come, bear fruit.
I just have a follow-up question. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates. If people cannot attend any of those dates, how can they participate into the process?
Great question. One way is certainly there are still organizations that are running idea generation sessions. If those also don't work, people can participate online and go to participate and submit an idea.
Okay.
Angie, do you have a question?
Oh, no, they
Oh, yeah, thank you again, Commissioner, thank you, always. And like you said earlier, for a while it was like, what happened to all the round table, they just happened that, they listen to us, or they read our papers, or they view our, website and so on and so forth to have information, which are very important. Now, looking at the flyer, it says like the community board supporters. Most of our community, when it comes down to be more specific, the African community or the West African community, sometimes they're not aware of this, support available to them. Like I said, any immigrant from 11 and should be able. Can you let us know exactly what can we let them know that they can know that they would be part of it, so they can be ready to be funded and so on and so forth.
Well, we are pretty inclusive in the organizations that we have funded.
It's very important, yeah.
Work, and so there are a couple of partners from the African community who are participating in leading idea generation sessions. So I mean, it's really open to everybody. There are anyone 11 or older, like regardless of their background, regardless of the language they speak, is welcome to be part of this, and we really want the African community to be a part of it for sure.
Can you let us know so far since you guys started, do you ever have I know you said it that you're working with the African community, but to be more specific?
Well, there are two. I'm blanking on the names of one of the partners, but African Life Center is one of them, and then
African communities together? South Tier 2?
no,
African
not,
Services?
Not South Tier 2, not ACT. They're not currently funded partners. Though I have worked with those organizations in the past.
African Services Committee?
So NYC, because African Communities Together is a member of the
Yeah.
NYC, we are hosting an event with them.
Okay.
So that's the So it's like not just the organizations that get the funding, but also like we are also creating partnerships with organizations that didn't get that funding because we know that their members are also critical components of our community.
Let's put the faces slide back, because it's important to know that there's faces, right? So, where's the faces?
This is, are you talking?
There's a big elections, project event, and then voting,
Yeah.
which happens this year, April to June 2023.
I mean, and
So
all,
there's plenty of time, right? And residents will be able to vote online. And again, what's historic about this is that anyone who's a New Yorker, any resident of New York, regardless of their immigration status, will be able to vote as young as 11 years old. We want to make sure that our communities know about this because they'll receive a message, right, from City Hall, from our government, that once you're here, you're a New Yorker. And this is a significant first step in being this inclusive. I don't think anywhere else in the country you'll find that, correct me if I'm wrong.
no, this is true.
So-
Yeah, and one other I'd like to make on the second phase where projects are vetted and developed, we do have on our site a borough assembly application. As I mentioned, that vetting has also involves residents, so people can apply to serve on the committees that will vet the projects and create the ballot. So that's another opportunity for anyone from, our communities to volunteer, and there is, like a small, stipend that will be given for that time as well.
So just to give you an example, so,
Yeah, but
because,
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
I'll give you an example. Again, we're still in the first phase. We're generating ideas. I've participated in this process before. And so I don't want to say that this is an idea that's going to move forward. This is an example, right? Let's say someone, I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong. Someone says, my community needs a beautification project because I think there's a lot of graffiti, there's a lot of trash, and that's what they propose, right? And then the project is vetted, right, and developed, right, it gets selected. Now, starting April 23rd, people will be able to vote, right, whether they want a beautification project or something.
Oh, sorry.
That's so significant because
Sorry.
anyone in that community or in the community can say, this makes sense to me. I want to vote on this. Again, this is a very real, very tangible thing that our communities will be able to vote for the first time. For many, and as you know, have lived in the United States for decades, but because they have Black immigration status, or residents, or visa holders, they haven't been able to participate in this manner, in this way. And I think that is one of the most significant accomplishments of this effort. And so we'll be able to choose from many different projects that will be generated by the community themselves. And correct me if I'm wrong, if that's.
That's it. And all the projects that were funded last year in the 33 neighborhoods, they have been implemented or are being implemented, so we can also share, it should be on our site, if not, we can share info about it. The 30 different neighborhoods, these were city council neighborhoods. This is the first time we're doing this citywide. Yeah.
You're using city hall funds, mayoral funds. And that's why we're calling this event here, because I hope that signals to everyone that how serious we are about being this inclusive with our immigrant communities. And we'd love to talk more about language access, but I know you had a question, and then
Yeah.
So Lambert and with the Filipino Community Media Press. So thank you for hosting this. So my question will be, can you talk about more of the provided criteria that is on the, what are the parameters of this criteria?
And criteria.
Yes, yes.
We're actually working now with, we have a participatory budgeting advisory committee, and we are working with them to develop the criteria. I think one of the things that we generally check for is that the ideas that are being put forward are feasible to implement with the funding we have. right? And also that the nature of the project is actually an expense project. Like if somebody tells us that they want, if their idea is to like fix a bathroom at a school, that's not gonna be covered under this process because that's a capital, you know, or to fix like a basketball court, that wouldn't be covered, it's all expense funding. So examples of this are, you know, people in the past have proposed ideas to create a conference on gun violence in their neighborhood, as an example, or like a mental health workshop for youth. So those are the kinds of projects that we are going to be making sure that go on the ballot, things that people can implement in a short amount of time.
Would it cover, for example, in the Filipino community, there are a lot of immigrants, documented, undocumented, who are, let's say, restaurant workers or caregivers? Would like information disseminating or organizing conferences to let them know about their rights, you know, and stuff like
Yeah,
those?
that's a great example of an idea that somebody could, it has to come from the idea generation phase. If someone puts forward that idea, then that, yes, that is a candidate for, you know, the borough assemblies and the discussions have to agree to put that on the ballot. It's a great example, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Clary Lewis in Town Daily. I'm just wondering, the final result is gonna just totally decided by the votes, or there's other elements deciding it?
The final projects, the winning projects will be decided by vote.
But
What makes this process unique is that we are getting direct feedback on what projects are funded from residents.
I mean, it's understandable, but I mean, there's populations difference among all those boroughs, and you just said it's not equally divided, and there's more population in some boroughs than the others. Then what are you gonna say with that?
Well, people are voting on projects in their borough or in their neighborhood. They're not voting for something across all the boroughs,
I see.
if that makes sense. So it's very focused on where they live or work or, you know, yeah.
So they'll include their zip code, right? Is
Yeah.
that still the case? So
Yeah.
when they go online, for instance, they'll be asked for their zip code, and then they'll get the projects that they can vote on.
So basically, it won't be like some neighborhood gets a lot and some neighborhood gets nothing.
You can see the breakdown.
So depend how they.
Yeah.
We hope all neighborhoods have a lot of participation.
Get
during
involved.
the- Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do Isu, Greg, and then I know has a question.
So, yeah, I have a question about implementation. So if I generate the idea, will I be the one implementing the idea, or how will it work?
No, we are gonna have an open call for organizations to implement any ideas. So, in some cases, it might be the same organization, in some cases, it might not be.
So let's say someone, maybe around this table, proposes a Know Your Rights workshop for Filipinos in WhatsApp, right? You know, they'll get to vote on it, and then if it wins, the community will have
Like
a
a
request
CPO
for
partner
proposal.
might.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
And there will be follow-up to make sure that it's done right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
It'll go through the contracting process with the city.
yeah, that's right.
Greg?
These five CEC sessions, I know you said people can submit comments through the website if they can attend in person. Are these going to be live streamed at all?
Are they last year?
Some of them you can attend, like some of the organizational ones, they have
Yeah.
options to attend virtually, depends on the event and their tech capabilities, but we can look into live streaming.
Oh, goodness.
For the borough ones, for the borough session.
It starts this Friday in Manhattan.
Manhattan's the first one, this Friday, that's right.
Yes, Friday.
I already registered myself.
Oh,
Oh.
great. Great.
Can you talk a little bit about language access? Or like the languages included in the ballot?
Yes, so the ballots will be translated, and we generally have been doing, translations in the local authority languages and additional languages as requested by partners.
So that's 10 languages, and then any additional language?
any additional languages.
What
yes.
languages are those? Few of them. You could say name few of them. Right.
The local law 30 languages,
You're
yes.
gonna test us here.
Okay, we try to do it. It's Arabic, Bangla, and Haitian Creole, Russian, of course, Spanish. Spanish, I was trying to go in alphabetical order. Spanish and
French?
French and Urdu and what am I saying?
Mandarin.
Polish, yeah, Chinese, Korean, Chinese, Korean.
And these events, they will have like translations also?
Yes, they will in more limited, I mean, not in all languages though. I mean, for live interpretation, we generally ask people to let us know, like if they need help, if they, want, and that's what it's based on. Yeah.
And if you look at the list of the community groups that were awarded funds, you'll see a large diversity of languages. So that the teams themselves will take place in different languages.
Yeah, right.
So they're not just in English.
Yeah.
That's great.
That is in the presidential meetings, they say they have live interpretation services, depending on the borough. For example, in Bronx, it will be Spanish, in Brooklyn, Spanish and Chinese, in Manhattan, Spanish and Chinese. But if someone needs something, they have to request when they
Yeah, okay, great.
We'll also have volunteers in the events, to help with additional languages as well.
So we'll have it at the very least 10 languages, but depending on the community need, it might go up to 15, 20,
Yeah.
20, 50, we'll see. That's something I'm interested to
Makes
learn
sense,
about.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much for the presentation. Sheila from Roller News in the Bronx. I know that some of at least Community Board 7 have already started their idea generation session, so they're well into it. I was just wondering, and I apologize if you've already covered this in the earlier session, is this an iteration of what was previously the participatory budgeting system, or is it parallel to that, or is that
It's in parallel.
okay?
It's a separate, in addition to city council process, so city council members have the ability to opt in, so not all council members run a process, and I think that when the commission was created, the idea was to really expand that process and, integrate, include more New Yorkers in it, even in council districts that weren't doing it. So it's an additional process that is funded through mayoral funds.
You can say this is the mayor's or city hall's version.
Right.
And it's citywide, which is fine.
That's right.
It's exciting because prior to this, only a few neighborhoods had really had this experience. Now it's open to all neighborhoods, all of New York City, which is, to me, very exciting.
Do you have any last minute questions? I know we're running 5 minutes.
I have follow-up. Will the, thank you, press be able to cover, I'm excited to cover this in person, even though I'm not from Manhattan, the first one is scheduled on the 28th, or any other from the Bronx.
You're welcome.
um, Thank you.
You're welcome. Let us know. I'll join you.
Yeah, I wanted to just say that, I think what we really want to promote here is that the people who live in New York City, the residents, they are the ones who know best what they need, right? And we want to really push people to voice what they need and also for government to respond. It's not just to say what you need, we also have to be responsive. So we're trying to shift the dynamic and the interaction of how government listens to communities as well. And we welcome your partnership to get the word out and to encourage people to get involved.
And I'm looking forward to people campaigning for projects.
That's
That
right.
would be
Sure.
exciting.
Last question, Commissioner, like you were saying earlier on, you've been so busy with the immigrant coming in. How is it so far?
Yes, we're seeing a slowdown in the buses arriving to New York City. But the reality is that we have 20,000 new neighbors who are asylum seekers who've arrived in New York. And again, not just from Latin America, but we've seen a large number of.
So you're in the Bronx
West
last
African-
time,
yes,
yeah.
in the Bronx. So right now, our priority has always been the well-being of people coming in. So right now, we're making sure that people are connecting, asylum seekers are connecting to services that already exist for all immigrants and new services that we're creating for asylum seekers. So our space at the Red Cross in Midtown Manhattan continues to operate, and it will continue to operate as long as there's a need for asylum seekers to receive services. So there we're seeing close to 200 people a day. They're getting connected to our school system, our health system, our workforce development system. So the work continues even though there are fewer buses arriving.
And how many people have you seen come through Randall's Island so far?
I don't have the updated numbers, just a handful. We're weighing a few options. The fewer buses we receive, the fewer people will end up at Randall's Island, because again, that was supposed to be a stop-off point. From there, you get connected to shelters or other destinations in the country. So we're looking at our options, but again, as the mayor said, this for us allows us to be prepared in case we receive more buses and more people, into the future.
But the mayor will send the funds are not, is, if I may say right now, how is it so far? The funds, is this ready to still welcome?
Well, we haven't received funds from the federal government, so we're waiting for that. But again, New York City has a moral obligation to continue to be a welcoming city for all immigrants. That's the most big, But I think for now we're seeing a reduction in buses that are arriving. Today we didn't welcome buses, for instance. Yesterday we didn't have buses either. So that's very different from last week. So we welcome 8, 9, 10 buses over the weekend. So we'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Thank you.
for joining. I will be sending a press readout after